I intended to bring it up, but you did it so eloquently. I have somewhere my ticket.
What time is it? Okay.
I want two tickets because the first one didn't work, and I was well,
Okay.
maybe spin would be.
So let me see if you all are listening. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here in this session. We will talk about accessible tourism businesses. And first of all, my name is Helena Ribeiro. I'm from Turismo de Portugal, the National Authority for Tourism, and I will be your moderator for this session. And we expect to have an exciting discussion with these experts that everybody knows. Mònica from Agência Catalana de Turismo, Ivor Ambrose from ENAT, European Network for Accessible Tourism, and John Morris from wheelchair.org. So, before we begin, just a quick note. We encourage questions from the audience, of course, and we will address them at the finish after listening to our speakers. So we will first hear from each speaker and then the questions from the audience. And we start with Ivor Ambrose. He doesn't need any introduction, but I will do it the same way. So Ivor is the co-founder and the managing director of ENAT, the European Network for Accessible Tourism, a non-profit association established in Brussels since 2008, with a background in environmental psychology, building research, ICTs, and universal design, and is worldwide known as an advocate for mainstreaming accessibility in the tourism sector. He advises government and agencies, businesses, and destinations in their efforts to develop the accessible tourism and also to promote inclusive destinations and businesses under the banner of Tourism for All. I would also like to add on a personal note that Ivor has been my teacher on matters of accessibility in tourism, and he has greatly contributed to the work that we are developing in Portugal, in Tourism Portugal. Ivor continues to be an important partner for Tourism Portugal, and I would like to express my sincere appreciation for that. Ivor is going to talk about the portrait of European travelers with mobility and special needs. So, Ivor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Helena, for that very flattering introduction. I hope I can live up to that. I just felt the ceiling getting higher and higher. And, but anyway, we're in a tight little room here. It's a bit cozy, but I hope that will encourage us to have a conversation as well. Besides listening to my short presentation, I give a short presentation about a study that we've just been involved in to bring you up to date with some survey information on the portrait of European travelers with mobility and access needs. So I press this button and we go forward. You can actually find this presentation on the website of accessibletourism.org. So I'm repeating something that's already been published since this summer, but I'm going to go into a little bit of detail with the slides and a little bit more, because actually it was this company MMGY, Tourism Intelligence, or Travel Intelligence, sorry, MMGY, which is a a part of a big American corporation, MMGY Global, which deals with data, information, and in this case, everything to do with tourism. And they've also produced portrait of people with disabilities and travelers in America, for people of different color, also other groups or segments, if you like. Now, as you'll have heard before from some of us, we don't see accessible travel as a segment exactly. It should be part of every travel experience and every destination. But they came to us sort of out of the blue and said, we would like to repeat our study in America, in Europe. And if you find that useful, we could work with you to make our questionnaires, and our survey team will work with you to make the questions slanted, moved towards the realities in Europe.
Allora perché oggi
And
quelli
they also
dicevano, io
engage
non
with the
sono
World Travel
assegnata
and
come
Tourism
italiano,
Council. They
io
also
ti
engage
vedo
with
come
John Sage,
inglese,
who
parlavano
is
fra di
a great
loro.
advocate
Del
of accessible
canale.
travel. He has his
E
own
chi li
magari
deve
companies
assegnare?
devono
in America,
assegnare, sono loro che
and
essendo
several other
segnati come
organizations,
interpreti
including some
prendono il
that are
flore
here
e
as sponsors,
decidono, cioè una interpreta alla volta, una lingua alla
the
volta, quindi
German
sono loro
National
che devono
Tourist Board,
decidere
and also
dove
Visit England
uscire.
and some of our
Cioè,
ENAT
capito? Non
partners.
è che loro parlano tutti
Per
questi,
chi
So this,
scrive Zoom,
then
per chi gestisce
one thing
Zoom,
important to say about
deve
surveys and
prendere
why we don't have
indirizzi
enough
e
of them
indirizzi e
is
dire
because
questi
they
sono
cost a lot of money.
interpreti. Ok,
It costs
perfetto.
a lot of money
Questo mi
just to
interessava
put a
capire.
question into an existing survey. We
Ops.
discovered this years ago when we said to Visit England. We just done a project on accessibility, and we thought, okay, you have a big questionnaire that you send out to all your serviced accommodation suppliers every year. You send out a quality questionnaire. Can't you put some questions in about accessibility as well? And they said, yes, we can, but each question will cost £20,000. So there's a lot to think about when you think about how to run a survey. But we got this chance with MMGY. And thanks to the sponsors, including also, I should also mention an Italian wheelchair manufacturer whose name escapes me just now. I'm not sure, it's not on the slide, but it's on the website of accessibletourism.org. Also Otto Bock, the big German organization that makes wheelchairs and prostheses. They also sponsored the survey. And as they tell it here, the project reflects the MMGY's commitment to elevating underrepresented voices in travel. So, as I said, they've also done surveys and studies on portrait of, yes, Black travelers in America, visitors Latinas, portrait of travelers with disabilities. So they're interested in lifting the level of knowledge and information about different groups of travelers. They've developed this survey with us, and actually, most generously, they've said all proceeds from the sale of the report will be donated to ENAT to support our work in accessible tourism. So full transparency here, the report costs over $2,000, and we haven't seen any money yet. So I think they're still on the negative side of how much it's cost them to do it. As I told you, it's an expensive business. So we're not about the money, we're about the information. On this slide, they talk about the methodology, because you have to be clear what you're going to find out, what you want to know. And you can look at, I mean, these slides are free of charge, right? So you can look at these for nothing, but you can get this information on the website, as I said. So it's not necessary to take all the pictures if you like, but we can say the important thing about this survey was, first of all, it had to be in different languages, whereas the American surveys are all in English. So we wanted to get representative samples from France, Germany, Italy, Spain, and the United Kingdom. Why? Because these are the biggest feeder markets for tourism, not only in Europe, asking the tourists with access requirements, where do you want to go, where do you, what barriers do you meet, and so on. But also, they gave a very long list of all world regions and most world destinations to find out in this report. If you pay for it, you will find out how many people are interested to go to Brazil, to Panama, to all kinds of to countries all around the world. So it's useful information to know in terms of the, as we say, the volume and the value of tourism in the accessible tourism market. How many people are wanting to travel? Where do they go? And how much are they spending? So some of those things I'll refer to directly today. So the important thing, I think, is that we're interested, and if you're thinking about making a survey or you're reading survey information, it's what was the motivation for making the survey? Which target groups are you actually referring to? Because the disability survey in America was all about wheelchairs, all about people with, should say, mobility impairments related to their kinetic movement, okay? So it didn't look at people with sensory impairments or cognitive impairments as well, or besides. We may try to widen the scope if we do another survey with them in some time. But this report focuses, as it says here, primarily on leisure travelers, defined as those who intend to take at least one overnight leisure trip during the next 2 years. And it also refers to anybody who took an international trip in the previous 12 months, so previous year. They get different numbers of responses, of course, through this was all online research, of course, in France, Germany, Italy, Spain, UK. They gathered 3,474 responses, which of course is not a huge number, but knowing as they are professional survey writers and knowledgeable in this field, they could make a balance with the respondents against the size of the population and so on. So you get a representative, so-called representative sample and the people answering were not only people with disabilities themselves, but also carers or someone who was traveling with a disabled person, so that they could also answer on behalf of the person with a disability. So it's a little bit technical, perhaps. Something about the terminology, as we've said, they're referring to international leisure travelers with mobility impairments or long-term health conditions. We got that into the phrasing, including at least 12 months, that affect their physical mobility or ability to carry out daily tasks. And we're also referencing their companions, the travel companions who may be a carer or maybe just a friend. And at the bottom of the slide, as it says in the report, there's a sort of baseline for where that information comes from and how many people were involved in that question. Okay. So here's some interesting information, some valuable information. The reason we really said yes to this report was that we haven't done a similar survey of the demand for accessible tourism since a study in 2014 with the European Commission, which was a very wide-ranging survey conducted by Surrey University and I think another organization in Belgium. We were very interested to update some of this information. So what it's showing here is that almost half, that is 46% of European travelers with accessibility needs travel once a year, with 32% of British respondents traveling 2 to 3 times a year, more than the respondents of other European nationalities. And this is international travel. So this is quite a significant finding, I think, even though it's a small sample and so on, but it's really telling us that people with disabilities are traveling. They're a significant market. And this is something that obviously anyone who's in the travel sector should be aware of, that that there's no reason to hold back, if you like, but there's something working here in terms of British respondents. They're traveling much more. And let's see if in the report itself, they do go into that a little bit more about how they travel and why they travel more frequently. So this is part of the answer, really, that half of travelers with accessibility needs who went on an international overnight leisure trip traveled with a spouse or a partner. And also, within this sample, if you go further into detail, group travel is also very popular. So here's one of those, the number one findings is that people with disabilities do really tend to have this multiplier effect. They bring a multiplier effect to the tour operator, to the to the destination, to the business, that they don't always travel alone, and many, so 50% are traveling with someone else or with a group, and that means that they are also contributing more to the destination. Some of them traveling with children, with family, with friends, and so on. So in this way, we get a picture. I suppose we're getting a new baseline for 2025, at least for these 5 countries, in the background and the variation there is between these different countries in the traveling population. So they also looked at the top 5 most important accommodation features. So they looked at accommodation, they looked at transport, they looked at services right across the board. I've just picked out this one, which is about the accessible bathrooms. This was the most important feature for people with mobility impairments, to have accessible bathrooms. We sometimes call them toilets here, but they do also mean bathrooms in terms of accommodation. So this is public restrooms or toilets as well, but the accessible bathrooms is the #1 feature. People want to have a comfortable and safe bathroom that they can use easily. And I think that this reflects strongly on some of this is what we already know, okay? But it's good to have confirmed some of the things that we thought were the case. So 74% it's very important to them to have accessible bathrooms. The wide doorways and hallways, it almost speaks for itself. If you're a wheelchair user, availability of assistive devices, and of course these would be things like the availability of a shower chair that you can put in the bathroom, but also perhaps a different bed or a different mattress and so on. Things like that are not just maybe available, or you might have to ask for it, or this is a question of how you get these assistive devices, so-called. We hear very often that yes, you can have a chair, it is available, but if you haven't booked it in advance, or if there's some safety regulation that you could never imagine, then maybe you won't get that chair. So we hear all kinds of stories like this about the differentiation difficulties of getting the reliable information beforehand that you will have that chair in the shower. And some of you may have been in the session this morning where John was also talking eloquently about the differences, the inconsistency of just simple definitions like that. Is there an extra chair that you can use in the bathroom? So space as well for the mobility device in the bathroom, and availability of accessible rooms in general. Also availability of the room, knowing that it's booked for you and nobody else is going to take it before you get there. And this is one that goes back to the booking engines, that you don't always have the opportunity to ensure that an accessible room is booked. Because in the past, at least, a lot of booking engines didn't have this information and didn't make it available to the public. So there are still a lot of things to be ironed out there in respect of the accessible accommodation. In terms of transportation, not remarkably, I suppose, in Europe, there are very good airline connections. There are more than 600 airports in Europe. At least I know that from the IATA figures, that IATA has 600 airports. No, not IATA, sorry, the Airports Council International has more than 600 members, airports. So traveling by air did get much cheaper some years ago. We have the low-cost airlines, Ryanair. I'm not here to advertise, but Ryanair is the biggest airline in Europe. And it's a low cost. It's almost like getting on the bus. You can travel for very little money. If you travel in the low periods, you will pay some extras, but you don't pay extra for the PRM, or persons with reduced mobility services in Europe. They're always free. And it's the airports that provide the support services. So among these, of course, the aeroplane is the most preferred method, and more than 6 in 10 of the respondents have traveled by air. And then it's trains, and then it's the standard personal vehicles, cars, and whatever else you might travel by. Some travel by coach, ferry, etc. So we also reflect on this, that it's important to get the information about the different types of transportation and how the customers respond to these. So we got the baseline information there. We also see that what are the kind of challenges that people face. Maybe again, no surprises here, but we get some data to work from. And a lot of these, I mean, 84% of travelers say with accessibility needs, say they've faced challenges when using transportation methods. So transport is really the sticky issue. It's a difficult thing to ensure that you're going to get the service that you need. First one is on difficulty on boarding or disembarking. That presumably especially refers to trains and aeroplanes. Inadequate assistance from staff. So that's quite an amazing figure there, that some 25% of the respondents say they didn't get a good response from staff. That says something about the level of the staff training, about maybe the attitude that needs to be worked on, and there's being service-minded towards people with disabilities, because often I hear from people with disabilities that, yes, you know, if I didn't have this disability, I would get a much better service, I'm sure. So there is this kind of tendency in some places and in some interactions, you might say, with members of staff, that they're not so open, and their attitude is more combative rather than supportive. We need to work on that through training. We need to work on that through appealing and explaining and ensuring that people understand what it is their job is about, and what is included here to ensure that people with disabilities have the same and equitable experience, as we might say, with others. So there are other issues here to deal with, like lack of accessible seating or space for mobility aids, limited availability of adapted vehicles, for example. One of the crazy things that is a favorite of mine, lack of adapted taxis. It's so difficult in some countries and some cities to find an adapted taxi, which is not reserved for school children or local residents going about their daily business and needing to be transported. There's very little access for tourists to use those kind of services, although the municipality or the city has adapted vehicles. And it's very difficult as a tourist to find your way to get an adapted vehicle. So they may exist, but they're not always easy to access. So I won't go through the whole slide there, and I won't go through too much detail. It's just to summarize a little bit here. 52% of respondents have gone on an international overnight leisure trip as part of a multi-day organized group tour or package holiday. These are very, very popular, and I think growing in popularity, because things are organized for you, and you know somebody has checked in advance that the accommodation should be in order, and the transportation is also taken care of. 61% of travelers surveyed are likely to participate in a multi-day organized group tour or package holiday again within the next 2 years. So there's clearly a market there, and clearly a need for good services in this area. So that's just a summary, very short summary of some of the information that's coming out of the study. And the report includes all this information about the trips and the spending, the destination preferences, as I talked about, which countries and which types of holidays people are interested in. Also, I think it's important to remember some of those key takeaways that I started with about the overall state of accessibility for and in tourism. I think we've had it reconfirmed that what we thought we knew is probably quite true, and probably it hasn't changed that much in 10 years in terms of customer satisfaction, although there's a lot that has been done to improve infrastructure and services. The one big thing that we really focus on in ENAT is that when an operator has improved their service or their infrastructure or their website, whatever it is, they have to tell people about it. Otherwise, people will not come. They won't know that things have been improved. And when you tell people about accessibility, there are two main issues. You tell what you've done to improve the access for specific groups of tourists with certain access needs, but you also tell what is not accessible, because that's just as important for people to know. And of course, some operators, they resist that. They say, well, we can't say that you can't do this and that. You can't go in the swimming pool because we haven't established the lift or whatever yet. But yes, do that, because the key thing is that people want to know the real situation, the objective facts, and then they can decide for themselves if it suits them, if it suits them when they have their helper with them, and so on. So I think the biggest takeaway for us from this was that, sorry to say, more research is needed. Thank you. I take some questions.
Okay, thank you, Ivor. I'm talking from the point of view of Turismo Portugal. We are eager for this information, and I think all the tourist destinations are. We need some data for to know better this public, and the numbers, the figures that we have since 2014. But in 2014, they showed that the numbers, the figures, were promising, as the revenues, the public, that was in that time more than 130 million people with some impairments in Europe. So that study centered in European Union. But if we talk about the world, the numbers, the figures are much higher. So yeah. So thank you, Ivor, because you enhanced the need for information, the need for training, and with the if the tourists with some kind of specific needs, they must know what the offer is to decide if they are going to that country or the other one. So thank you, Ivor, for your presentation. So now we are heading to Barcelona, to Catalunya, with Mònica Eulàlia, and she has over 25 years of experience at the Catalan Tourist Board. I know another Mònica from Catalunya, but now I'm presented with Mònica Eulàlia. And she holds degrees in tourism and information sciences, plus postgraduate studies in marketing and information systems. And her career began in family's accommodations businesses, giving her hands-on insight to the sector. She has led marketing plans, destination branding, and major visitor satisfaction surveys. So you know what Ivor is talking about. Yeah. Yes. She promotes the Destination for All network, advocating inclusive and sustainable tourism. Her work is rooted in research, innovation, and strong territorial engagement. She has helped position Catalonia as a high quality, diverse, and future focused destination. And also, Catalonia is one of the examples for a tourist destination that works very well, the accessible tourism. And also, we have learned much more with you. Okay, thank you very much for your presence here, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helena. I don't know if I have some trouble with the microphone, but I think that you can hear me. Thanks for inviting us. Buon pomeriggio. Yeah, good afternoon. Let's start. I would say that only one of every 18 tourism businesses in Catalonia is fully accessible. What about the other 17? This reality speaks volumes. It shows that despite progress, accessible tourism remains an unfinished chapter. We, as a Catalan Tourist Board, we are facing this challenge, leading a big transformation of the sector. With over 15 years of experience, we drive initiatives, we train professionals, and connect businesses to ensure accessibility becomes the norm, not the exception. And you know, we are a fortunate destination. We are lucky to be a destination where accessibility is not just encouraged, It's protected and promoted by law. It won't surprise you if I say that for a destination to be truly accessible, it takes much more than the commitment of a single tourism promotion body, no matter how dedicated we are. The entire territory and its policies must align with the same commitment. And it's precisely from this need for coherence as a territory that the title of today's presentations was born, from the law to the action. Let me explain it to you. And let me start as a starting point for what I want to share with you today, the Barcelona Olympic Games that were held in 1992. As you can imagine, this was a major milestone for the city and it brought many changes. Some of the most important were directly linked to accessibility. These games also marked the start of a new era in the relationship between the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. Not only were both events hosted in the same city, but for the first time, they shared most of the facilities. To make this possible, everything had to be designed through the lens of universal accessibility. Faced with such an event, Barcelona and Catalonia had to prepare to welcome the athletes. That's why, just before the Games, a law was passed to promote accessibility and to remove architectural barriers. This was a major step forward, making the city, its public spaces, and its transport much more accessible. From that moment, in 1991 up until today, Catalonia has continued to pass pioneering accessibility laws at a time when very few other places were regulating this issue at all. The most recent step, and the one I want to highlight today, is the approval of our new accessibility code. This code was approved at the end of 2023 and came into force in March 2024. What the new code does is update the first accessibility code of Catalonia, which was approved back in 1995. And what is the purpose of this? Doesn't change. No. Nope. No. And what is the purpose of this code? Its role is to set out the conditions, the requirements, and the solutions needed to ensure that public spaces, buildings, transport, services, products, and communication processes guarantee autonomy, equal opportunities, and non-discrimination for people with disabilities or others who face difficulties interacting with their environment. In short, is an ambitious legal framework. So with such comprehensive legislation behind us, our board feels even more empowered to strengthen our commitment to tourism for all. That is to help turn law into actions that actually improve accessibility in Catalonia and enhance its quality as a tourist destination. To support this, in 2024, we launched the network Tourism for All. I have problems with that. And what is this network? We define it as a system of tourism stakeholders who are aware of and committed to tourism for all, working to position Catalonia as a leading destination for tourism for all, especially in Europe and in the Mediterranean area. As you can see, it's an ambitious goal and by no means an easy one. There is a lot of work to do, and we structured it around 4 main pillars: governance, self-assessment, training, education, and promotion. Within each of these pillars, we developed various initiatives. Today, we want to present 3 of them. The first one is related to governance. Yes, whoops. Sorry. Goes too fast. Whoops. Now, back again, please. Now, the first one is related to governance. We believe one of the most important things this network has brought us is the ability to connect different Catalan tourism stakeholders who are already working in tourism for all, or who want to start, and bring them together. This is reflected, for example, in the creation of the technical working group of the network, which meets once a month and brings together the technical managers for tourism for all from the different provincial councils, the Barcelona Tourism Consortium, and we, the Catalan Tourism Board. For the first time, we are regularly connected and working together to our shared goals. The second initiative is the PROA self-assessment tool for tourist sites. It's an online free tool that allows all managers of tourist sites in Catalonia to assess their accessibility and understand how accessible their site is across 6 different accessibility dimensions. This tool enables site managers to get a clear picture of their site accessibility, and it also allows us to start building a database of accessible offerings. The third initiative is a new training program for tourism professionals designed to be a gateway into the world of accessible tourism. It's offered as a MOOC, so participants can take it wherever and whatever they want or they need. The course covers everything from a specific vocabulary, context, and explanations of different types of disabilities to practical advice on providing high-quality services to people with disabilities and suggestions for adapting their spaces. The course also includes video featuring testimonials from people with disabilities, sharing what they look for when they travel, as well as visits to Catalan tourist sites with accessible offerings. In just a month and a half, 125 people completed the course this summer. That was the first edition. The second edition is now underway and open until mid-December. And our intention is to continue offering this course in the coming years. So this is what we are doing, but many challenges still lie ahead. For example, establishing an external validation system, auditing for the results of the self-assessment tool, continuing to provide high-quality training, or including information about Catalonia's Tourism for All offerings in our promotional website. All of this is aimed at achieving our goal of becoming a leading destination for tourism for all, offering high-quality experiences for everyone. But now I would like to invite you to stop looking in the future for a moment and focus on the present, because in Catalonia there are already several initiatives and tourism offerings that show that we are committed to do things right. The first one, and we will start with Barcelona. Barcelona is an example of good practices. It's a city internationally recognized for its accessibility. In fact, John was there 2 weeks ago, yeah. It stands out for its extensive network of adapted public transport, accessible beaches, and many cultural and heritage offerings designed with everyone in mind. In fact, in 2022, Barcelona was ranked the 3rd most accessible city in Europe at the Access City Awards. And Barcelona also rewards Tourism for All initiatives, including an accessibility category in the Barcelona Sustainable Tourism Awards for good practices. And how does the city make sure it keeps moving forward in its quest to become more accessible every day? One of the keys, once again, is working in a network. Through the city's own network for Tourism for All, through international associations, and also with the people at the Municipal Institute for People with Disabilities. And all this work translates into proposals like this one, the Barcelona Walking Tour Easy Gothic. With this tour, the city has included in its regular program of tourist experiences a route through the Gothic quarter and around the cathedral, adapted for people with disabilities. It is offered once a week and adjusts its route depending on the group and its specific needs. In short, it's an easy and comfortable itinerary led by an expert guide and complemented with additional services such as portable seating, hearing loops, tactile support materials, or the possibility of having an international sign language interpreter. Twice again. Yeah. Everyone interested in this proposal or any other accessible options in Barcelona can find information on the official Barcelona Accessible website. This accessible website provides all kinds of details on how to visit the city in an inclusive way, with tourism proposals for everyone. And as an improvement, the Barcelona Tourism Consortium is working on a new website. This new site to be launched next year under the concept, this is Barcelona, this is the new concept from the city, the motto, will also be fully accessible and include information about the city's accessibility. Twice, no? Not twice, no. Yeah, so far we have been talking about the city of Barcelona, but if we look a bit further afield across the rest of the province, we also find some very interesting initiatives, particularly in these areas of culture and access to nature. Focusing first on culture, I would like to tell you about La Mirada Táctil, the Tactile Gaze, a program created by the Office of Cultural Heritage of the Barcelona Provincial Council. Since 2007, it has been carrying out various actions to ensure that museums and heritage sites are accessible to all users, including people with disabilities. And as for nature, the network of natural parks of the Barcelona Provincial Council has been doing excellent work in this area for years. They created accessible trails in their parks, but also offer specific initiatives such as inclusive theatrical visits, which are not only designed to be accessible, but also provide options for sign language interpreters, audio description, or the use of directional bars or joy-led wheelchairs. The Barcelona Provincial Council is working to ensure that this type of offering continues to grow, making the tourism sector increasingly accessible, sustainable, and of high quality. So at this purpose, they have the commitment to sustainable tourism in Destination Barcelona program with the aim of fostering tourism sustainability as a public value among destinations and stakeholders in the sector. Through specialized advice, training, and collective support sessions that encourage synergies between different actors in the field, the Commitment to Sustainable Tourism Barcelona Destination Program applies a rigorous working methodology. It focuses on continuous improvement and the consolidation of good practices, moving forward towards the sustainable social and economic environmental development of the territory. And in Barcelona, they are still running another program called Turismo. This initiative puts people at the center of the tourism and makes accessibility a key part of its strategy. At the same time, Turismo also addresses other areas such as inclusion, gender equality, and diversity. The program works through collaboration between municipalities, companies, and associations, showing that accessibility and inclusion are not add-ons, but fundamental values of sustainable and inclusive destinations. And we continue our journey through the country, now heading to the Costa Brava, Pirineus de Girona. Well, not now, back at now. Okay, this one. Here in Girona, Costa Brava, you will find crystal clear beaches, volcanoes, middle-aged towns, and the foothills of the Pyrenees. Those of you who have been at the Costa Brava know that there is a lot to see there, and there is a lot to do there. This region has been working on tourism for all for many years, as shown, for example, by dedicating a section of their website to accessible tourism. From this same page, you can also access the guide to accessible beaches, a publication updated every summer, and that shows with a map and pictograms list which beaches in the province of Girona are accessible and what services each one offers. To give you a quick example, at Palamós Beach, an autonomous bathing platform has been installed for several years now, allowing people with reduced mobility and certain wheelchair users to enter the water independently. From this same website, for example, you can also find another resource to help plan a trip, such as this catalog of accessible offerings in the destination. It's a carefully crafted publication, very pleasant, visually appealing and practical, and at the same time, useful and inspiring. What this publication does is to invite the reader to discover the different countries of the destination and their adapted tourism offerings, guided by a variety of visitors, each with different accessibility needs. Isabel is the responsible for tourism in La Costa Brava. Yeah. Now, in addition, among the promotional materials that the Costa Brava Girona Pyrenees has produced in recent years, there is a video I would like to mention because it was made possible thanks to a previous edition of this summit. A few years ago, my colleague Isabel, the person responsible for Tourism for All in Girona, who is with us, attended the Destination for All Summit, where she met Martin Heng, Many of you probably know him, but for those who don't, he is Australian. He had a long career at Lonely Planet, and it's currently the accessible travel manager and editorial advisor. From that meeting came the idea for Martin Heng to travel to the Costa Brava to explore the destination and make a video sharing his experiences. I can tell you that the experience was incredible, positive for everyone involved. Isabel still often shares anecdotes from the shot, like the emotion Martin felt being able to swim at the beaches of the Costa Brava after many years of not being able to. Yeah, I don't want to finish without mentioning that there are another regions in Catalonia that couldn't be here today. While their overall tourism offerings are not yet fully prepared to welcome travelers, they do offer some initiatives worth highlighting. We are talking about the regions of Lleida and Tarragona. Lleida, among other things, it's home to Catalonia's only national park, which runs the Breaking Barriers program. This program, among other initiatives, offers adapted itineraries for people using wheelchairs or with a reduced mobility and provides interpretive resources for visitors with visual disabilities, such as braille panels and tactile models. Focusing on Tarragona, in addition to the Ebro Delta Natural Park, which for years has been working to adapt its spaces as an informational resources for people with disabilities, the city of Tarragona itself. It offers several accessible tourism initiatives, allowing visitors to explore, for example, its Roman heritage. Remember that Tarragona is UNESCO Heritage Site. And let's wrap up with an invitation. Many of the tourism offices in our country, working closely with the General Directorate of Tourism, are making efforts to become more accessible. If you come to Barcelona, we invite you to visit the Catalunya Tourism Office at Palau de Mar in La Barceloneta, which has been newly opened and designed according universal accessibility standards. It's a must if you come to the city. And so that's it. As you can see, we have been taking a journey through time and across the country, but I haven't yet mentioned accessibility in the promotion of Catalonia. While we are not currently promoting tourism for all as a separate program, then we will talk about segments and different segments. We do strive to make more and more of our promotional actions accessible. One example is this video of our product, the Grand Tour of Catalonia, which includes subtitles and an international sign language interpreter, and that I would like to share with you. Let's take a look. Let's see if it works with next. Twice, yeah. Then maybe over there, or maybe, I don't know. No. And again,
Welcome to a land of short distances and long trails. Within a few hours from the Mediterranean waves and the peaks of the Pyrenees, the rice of the Delta, the anchovies of La Scala, or the mountains of Prades, of the lush Montseny. Welcome to a small land to travel across, but great to discover. Made of water, wind, fire, and snow. Of age-old stones and landscapes to wonder. Trails where time stops and so many other spots to discover. The pleasure of taking the longest path and sneak into a secondary road. Look around you with fresh eyes. Valleys, mountains, rivers and fields. Bell towers and cellars, orchards and dry farms. Taste the most admired gastronomy, smell the colourful fruit trees. Admire a heritage cherished throughout centuries and traditions that cross generations. Welcome to a great adventure next to home. Welcome to a journey full of journeys. Welcome to the Grand Tour of Catalonia.
Now that's it. Thank you, Torino. And that is, with this video, we come to the end of the presentation. Thank you all very much for your attention, and do not hesitate in contact us. Now you know who we are.
Thank you. Thank you, Mònica, for your presentation. As I said, Catalonia was a good teacher also with best practices. And it has been confirmed by you that you continue to improve accessibility in your tourist destination. So congratulations for that. And now we had another speaker, but I don't know what happened. She's from Malaysia, but so we continue with the last but not least, John Morris from wheelchairtravel.org and TravelAbility US. And a quick presentation of John. I don't know if you had the chance to hear him in the morning session. I had the pleasure to hear and to learn with you, John. John Morris is an accessibility consultant with extensive experience in the travel and tourism industries. Following a motor vehicle accident that left him a wheelchair user, he founded wheelchairtravel.org. That I learned this morning is the #1 website for accessible travel resources and information. So do travel do travel on the website to know more information about accessible tourism. He owns and manages wheelchair travel tours and he leads groups of disabled people on accessible tours to some of the world's most popular destinations. Through his accessible development group consultancy, Morris advises corporations, non-profit organizations, and also destination marketing organizations to develop accessible products, programs, and also services. He serves on the board of directors of the Institute for Human-Centered Design and was named in 2023 the Person of the Year by the New Mobility magazine. John is going to talk about TravelAbility US and also on building on accessibility ecosystem in the US tourism industry. So John, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, everyone. We have a small room, but a packed house. So excited to speak to all of you today. I'm not talking about myself or my projects. I'm actually talking about TravelAbility. It's an organization established in the United States. And so something I'm very excited about. I've been part of since the beginning. But I think in the next slide here, if this will work, I'm going to tell you a short origin story of this organization. This good-looking man is Jake Steinman. He could not be here today because the TravelAbility Summit, which occurs annually, is actually beginning in the state of Oregon in the United States in just a few days. He didn't come here, but I am going to both conferences, so I'm rushing back to the US after this. How this organization formed, Jake doesn't have a disability. He is growing in age, but I won't tell you how old. He looks very good for his age, I think. But he ran an organization that produced travel conferences, industry conferences. His company was called North American Journeys, and that might sound like a travel agency, but it wasn't. And one day he received a call or an email, I forget which, telling him that he had received the honor of Travel Agent of the Year, bestowed on him by his local city council in the state of California. Well, what's funny about this is that he wasn't a travel agent. And secondarily, the award was completely bogus. The scammers from who knows where, wanted his credit card information in order to ship him a plaque to recognize his fake award. Hilarious, really. But somehow this award that he received was picked up by the local newspaper. And then he started getting emails and calls from people with disabilities asking if he could help them plan their accessible tour itineraries. And this sort of lit a light bulb in his head, and he said, there's a lot of demand, it seems, for accessible travel. I'd never considered this before. And so he went online and researched accessible travel and came upon me and others and reached out and said, hey, do you think that a sort of a conference event around accessible tourism could be sustainable? And I didn't really believe that he was serious about it at the time. It had always been a dream of mine, but everyone who had talked about doing one in the United States had come up short. But Jake is one of the most determined people that I know. And so I want to share with you how TravelAbility formed and began to build, and then ultimately sort of what the ecosystem that has been created around the organization looks like, and what impact it's having on the US tourism market. This, I think, will be particularly interesting to you if you work for a destination marketing organization. We've heard a great example already from Catalonia. They're doing a lot of the things that TravelAbility is trying to encourage within the US market, but which few destinations have taken up until recently. So as I said, TravelAbility Summit, it has grown into an annual industry conference where leaders in the travel industry are coming together to talk about best practices, learning about new technologies that can promote accessibility in destinations and that can improve the travel experience of disabled travelers. The first event was in 2019, and 2020 there was a virtual event, and every year since there has been an annual conference. I think the highest number of attendees we've had is about 400, but it's consistently attracted more than 300, which is very exciting. Some photos here from different TravelAbility summits around the years. And there is Jake in the top left as well. In addition to the summit, work is also being done in sort of a variety of different initiatives and projects to support the overall goal of bringing destinations together to advance accessibility. But Jake is also interested in supporting innovation within the disability and accessible travel marketplaces. And one of those is through the Innovatable Pitch Fest. It is the first sort of, well, does anyone know what Shark Tank is, the TV show? Okay. So you pitch products. There is a lot of innovation that's been done around accessibility. I don't know if I'm allowed to call it the Shark Tank for accessible technology for travel, but I have done so. And I think some of the products here, just that I'm showcasing on the screen in these images, are very exciting. Ira is a mobile application that connects primarily blind travelers with a sighted guide via their smartphone. Touch to See in the second image brings what is happening on a sporting arena or a football pitch to life for blind attendees. And this, gosh, I'm forgetting the name of it, something ring. It's very exciting. Essentially, it digitizes your home so you can control lights, appliances through the touch of a ring. It's sort of a smart ring. And that was presented at this year's Innovatable showcase. What has also been created is the accessibility playbook, and this is a very large document that sort of outlines resources for designing inclusive tourism experiences. This is targeted for use by destinations, and DMOs oftentimes share it with their local business partners, hotels, restaurants, event venues, etc. It's distributed in partnership with Destinations International, and it helps destinations sort of tell a unified story on what accessibility should look like and can look like, and how you get there. It's not the perfect document. There will never be a perfect guide to accessibility, but it is constantly being refined, and it is, I think, used to great effect by different destinations, primarily across the United States, but resources are being implemented to highlight accessibility regulations, not only in the US, but around the world as well. And many of those are accessible through what is sort of an innovative AI companion that is more than a chatbot. Again, not the perfect solution, but one more way for people to more easily interact with the information that underlies this playbook. Another initiative is called the Destination Ally Club. It is a network of 23 right now destination marketing organizations, convention and visitors bureaus, who have all made commitments to prioritize accessibility within their own destinations. It truly is a club in that there are regular meetings between the accessibility advisors to different DMOs around the country. Obviously, sort of in the United States, we have 50 states. I've already heard in Spain about some of the great networking that you are doing between destinations. And this is sort of on a larger scale, not in the sense that it's better, but because the United States is a larger area. And truly, there is a sharing of ideas between DMOs who have all come to understand that a point of accessibility should not be a point of competition in the marketplace. It is something that we should all drive forward together, because, in the instance, I'll use Barcelona and Girona as an example. You in Girona want residents of Barcelona to visit your areas. And I'm sure Barcelona likes to have visitors from Girona as well. And so if we can create a consistent expectation around accessibility and deliver a higher quality accessible tourism product, then everyone benefits. And that sort of is the focus here. And within the United States, the majority of people are taking their tourism within our own country and not so much abroad, because again, we have 50 different states, each with their unique characteristics. This is perhaps the most exciting component. I think that education around accessibility in the tourism industry is critical. And in Orlando, Florida, the University of Central Florida is home to the Rosen College of Hospitality Management. It is the largest college of hospitality education and instruction within the United States. And it is named after a hotelier in Central Florida, in the Orlando area, who for a long time ago made a commitment to accessibility. And so it's fitting that it would be at this college where a true accessibility curriculum is being developed. TravelAbility's playbook, the accessibility playbook that I talked about a moment ago, is a part of the development of curriculum in this college. It's obviously supplemented by many other resources and experts within the industry. But the idea is that this education will incorporate accessible travel principles to ensure that the hospitality leaders of the future are up to speed on the importance of accessibility and aware of ways that they can incorporate that into their work. No matter what position or role they take, many of the graduates of this college actually become managers, general managers of hotels. And that is a place where customer service and accessibility is really critical. And, despite the ADA in the United States, we still have a lot of problems with accessibility. So having people who with the knowledge and commitment to ensuring a positive guest experience, I think can make a huge difference. Right now, the accessibility course is reaching more than 3,000 students each year. So if the take rate on that is even 50%, we're having 1,500 new people entering the tourism industry each year with awareness about the importance of equal access. And finally, I've talked about some of the highlights of the TravelAbility ecosystem, but there are some other things as well. There is a magazine published actually by Melange, which is, I believe, a French organization. I don't know if anyone in here is familiar with that, but it is focused entirely on accessible tourism. TravelAbility has also created a database of influencers to connect destination marketing organizations with people, with audiences in the disability community, social media, websites, blogs, etc., to help destinations take advantage of their expertise in telling the story about accessibility in their destinations. There's a newsletter that goes around to the industry and an aggregator for landing pages. One of the big projects that we've been focused on is accessibility content should be provided on every destination website. It should be prominently displayed. And I know many destinations around the world have started to do that, but there are still so many more that don't say anything about accessibility, all the while developing specialized content to reach out to other marginalized populations, which all of that is very important, but accessibility is something that impacts every group, as we know, across the social spectrum. And so anyway, this is sort of the ecosystem that has been developed out of a bogus scam award, which I just think is completely comical. Kudos to Jake. I'm happy to be here representing TravelAbility today. It has been a tremendous honor to work with him and to see accessibility being advanced across the United States in both small and big ways. And I know I talked about baby steps being insufficient this morning in my earlier talk, but if that is all that is possible for a destination, that is better than taking no step at all. So thank you very much for your time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the conference.
Thank you very much, John, for this insight. You just confirmed that we need information, we need education, we need training, and the story of the birth of TravelAbility shows how much is the size of the demand of this public. So thank you very much to share with us this information. And now the questions from the audience. Okay, Abdulla. Okay. There's a microphone for the audience. No. John.
Okay, well, we can use mine.
Okay.
Thank you, Ivor. Hi, my name is Abdullah Abdulaziz. I'm from Bahrain, from Visit Accessible Bahrain. Is it okay? Yeah, no worries. I'm from Visit Accessible Bahrain. It's a new initiative. It's a private sector with a social impact enterprise. I used to work for the government. I was a co-founder of Bahrain Wedding Destination Visitor Economy. I'm trying to replicate in terms of the methodology and then learn from you guys and develop Bahrain as an accessible tourism destination through the slogan of creating accessible, enriching, and memorable experiences for all. So thank you for this informative and fruitful you guys have shared with us. I have two questions for you. It's not really a question, I really had inquiries I needed to understand regarding the Shark Tank similar initiatives that you have related to accessibility I'll be interested in. The second thing, how can we collaborate together in terms of Visit Accessible Bahrain?
John.
Yes, I'll repeat the question. There was interest sort of in the Shark Tank Innovatable Pitch Fest, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and then also how we can collaborate. The Pitch Fest honestly came about because Jake was going out on the internet searching for new projects that were either looking for funding or in early stages of development that would provide benefits to the disability community. They obviously the projects are more attractive if they are relative to the tourism industry, but as we understand that, you know, there are a lot of things that are accessibility focused that as so long as they help the disabled traveler access the world or their lives in a more meaningful way, then that should be important to us in the travel industry to support the development of those. And so there's a lot of innovation, not only in the United States, but around the world. The Touch to See product that I showcased is actually, I believe, a French product. It was designed in France. If I'm wrong on that, I just know it's not the US, but I'm pretty sure it's France. Maybe I should say it was the Italians who did it since we're here in Italy. And in terms of collaborating, I'd be happy to chat with you afterward. I actually almost made it to Bahrain. I have flown to Bahrain and landed at the airport there, but I didn't get off the plane. I'm a huge aviation geek, and KLM, the Dutch airline, flew its inaugural Boeing 787 flight to Bahrain via Abu Dhabi. So I was actually on the first 3 flights of that aircraft. I went Amsterdam to Abu Dhabi to Bahrain, back to Abu Dhabi, and then I got off. I said, okay, that's enough flying. But I love working with destinations to tell the story around accessibility, particularly in destinations that are perhaps perceived to be less accessible than others. Some of my favorite trips in my life have been to really inaccessible places. Like I got around Cambodia using a wheelchair accessible tuk-tuk, which is amazing. Who knew that existed? And if not for that, I would never have made it to Cambodia. So yeah, I'm happy to connect with anyone.
Thank you. Another one.
I can also do without, or I have two questions, if it's possible. One to doctora Mónica Santolaria. La puedo hacer en español, en castellano, con los subtítulos. Yo estuve en Barcelona hace un año y me ha impresionado, yo soy italiana y me ha impresionado la accesibilidad y, digamos, la cultura de respeto hacia la persona con discapacidad que yo no encuentro tanto en Italia. Lo siento decirlo, pero no estamos pues. Mi pregunta es si es solo la ley que ha influido o si también hay un cambio de paradigma cultural, lo que realmente ha hecho que en Barcelona, en Cataluña en general, cambiaran las cosas.
In English, well, in fact, Macarena from the Barcelona Tourism Council is here, so if you want to talk with Macarena afterwards, I think that it's all, yeah. From the Olympic Games, it was a big change for the city and for all the local population, and I think that per that has been a change in the mentality of the people. So it's a mindset of the people now, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much for the answer. It's really important. And for John, my question is what exactly they do in the courses. I found very interesting the training idea of developing accessibility also in the mindset of people. What type of courses do you have in these studies? Thank you very much.
Yes, so right now, the Rosen College isn't offering sort of a full program of study, but sort of a singular semester-long course focused on incorporating accessibility and accessible design principles into the practice of tourism hospitality. So I think that a lot of that is sort of understanding the customer, their individual needs, how you respond to needs that are both expected and unexpected, and then further, what are sort of the rules and regulations that guide delivering products and services in an accessible way. I haven't taken the course. I'm done with university, I have to say. But I think it has been very well received within the college and by the students.
I have a question for John. I think I didn't understand you when you talked about the landing page aggregator from the point of view of a DMO. Do you say that it is better to have a unique selling point in a different website, that to have all the offering integrated in the general website of the destination? That was that, or maybe I don't know if Ivor from the research can answer. The people are looking for the information in a unique selling point different from the general website. Is that or not?
Well, I think there are a lot of different perspectives on this. I would like to see information wholly integrated rather than set apart. But we have felt that for destinations that have started with nothing and that maybe have 1,000 pages on their website, sort of going back and adding accessibility information through there is this monumental undertaking that might never take place. So putting some and increasingly more accessibility information in an easy to reach place is a good place to start.
Yeah, I'll just come in on that. Thank you, John. Also, I think the key point that you just made there was that it should be in an accessible place. So So you've got to find the button, or you've got to find the word accessible. And we see, we've done lots of analysis of websites over the years of NTOs and DMOs. And where do you find the accessibility information if it's there? And we see a mystical set of terms like experience or enjoy or yes, okay, plan your travel. And you think, okay, I'll go there, but then it's not there. It's somewhere else. So we just say, use the word accessible somewhere, or your equivalent in the other languages, because from there you can take people to this dedicated website, and you have a marvelous, extensive website for the Catalonia, Barcelona. You have dedicated sites with the dedicated information, because some people, they really do want to drill down and find exactly what they want for their particular needs. And if you're doing that, that's the marvelous, really, that's the best way to do it. But it's all about finding the entry point. So that should really be, you know, top and center, or somewhere top of the front page, the home page, the landing page. That's the best way to do it. And we also have to remember one other thing that I picked up from a BBC interview the other day. There was a lady talking about artificial intelligence, and she says, when we design websites nowadays, we're not designing for people anymore. We're designing for the artificial intelligence to find the information. So you have to rethink your whole model of user interface, because we need an accessible user interface, but we need to know how the AI agents are searching for information. So you need to talk to your tech people. It's not us, it's not me, but you need to talk to the techies who are working in the AI field to understand. I believe also there are whole university courses now in prompting AI. How do you prompt the AI to find your accessibility information and then structure your information so that it's going to reach everybody who's eventually going to just be using AI and hardly searching on their own terms. I'm not sure how that's going to develop, but I think it's a very important development that we need to keep track of.
Another question from John. In this landing page aggregator, you will put all the offering there, and what about to check and audit these offerings?
So the aggregator itself is on the TravelAbility website, travelability.net, and it obviously the organization has encouraged the destinations that attend the conference or are part of the Ally Club or engage in other fashions to develop landing pages around accessibility. And then effectively the aggregator is just us linking to those pages so that it is a spot where people can go to sort of easily find the offerings from different destinations. And as Ivor was saying, it needs to be easy to find those, because very few people are going to come to the TravelAbility website to find the Visit New York City accessibility page. They're going to go to the Visit New York City website and try to find the accessibility page. And some destinations, when we were sort of looking for landing pages on accessibility that already existed, it was 3, 4, 5 clicks down into the website until you found it. And that's, people are going to give up. They're going to think that you have nothing for them. So it's important to make accessibility information easily accessible.
Do we have one more question here?
Hi, my name is Gerda, and I'm from the Netherlands, from a Dutch tour operator in accessible travel. I had the opportunity last April to be a speaker for the TravelAbility, not for the TravelAbility, but for the Governors Conference in Portland. I'm a big fan of Oregon, and I'm very proud on Jake. And one of the subjects that came by was the old-fashioned way, so not the AI, but how do we search as wheelchair users on the internet? But more important, I think travel agencies and tour operators worldwide, not only for accessible travel, must be more trained to give us the good information, because still a lot of people go to a travel agency or to a tour operator or to things like Expedia or Booking And that's where the missing link, I think, is. Last year, I was invited by Visit Saarland, as they said to me, how is it possible that we did so much research? We have a perfect website, we spend a lot of money on it, and no customers come. Where are the clients? Where are the people that want to come to the Saarland region? I said, I can tell you, because I wasn't thinking of going to Visit Saarland to find the information. But I was on that website. I went to the hotels, perfect given information. But then I went to the website of the hotel, nothing about the accessible room, nothing how to book. So you have to call. And we know that if you have to do so many clicks and then a call, then I'm gone as well. So I was thinking, and that's a question for for you, the training in Europe, at least for the travel agencies and tour operators, is that a must? Is that a law now, or can we act?
Yeah, there's one outstanding country which is training its hospitality, catering students, and that's Portugal.
Is that
They are the front runners, I suppose, in training on accessibility, because it's an obligatory part of the training. If a student getting into anything to do with hospitality, tourist guiding as well, I think accessibility is there in the curriculum, right? One country has it as an obligation.
Right.
But if you look across all other areas of study, disciplines, engineering, architecture, product design, IT even, accessibility is still either optional or not even there. And we asked, I'm living in Greece now, we asked in Greece some years ago, and it's still the same. We asked at the architecture school, what do you teach about on accessibility? And the professor said, well, we teach what the law says, you know. So you don't get very far with that. I have to give a nudge to America as well, because we've also asked once upon a time. So in America, you have ADA. Do the architects also learn the ADA, about the ADA in their studies? No, came back the answer. So we have this kind of attitude that, well, it's something we'll leave to the experts, and the experts are struggling to get in touch with the destinations, the operators, the businesses. There's no pipeline for accessibility, really. And so your question is spot on. You know, how is it that accessibility gets left behind? Is a, what should we call it? Dare I say, a blind spot in our vision. We don't really, or many people who are designing curricula for the students of tomorrow. We have to talk to the teachers of today. We have to teach the teachers, and then they can teach the students. But you know, it can take 2, 3, 4, 5 years to get on things onto a new curriculum in a university. They're extremely difficult procedures to go through. So we are trying. We've also got a training course now for training travel agents on designing tourism offers for deaf people, and we have 100 hours of training with sign language in Italian, Greek, and Romanian. We have the content in English as well, so that people could use that. The material it's on a project called Feel It, which is, the name came from the deaf community. So we're working on different ways to try to integrate training on accessibility in different fields. But travel agents is, again, I'm afraid not very common that they will learn anything about accessibility.
Now, thank you. And I hope for whole Europe, but with the ANVR in the Netherlands, and together with Veronique, we will start training the Dutch industry. So that's a start, and then maybe we can come back to you all. Thank you.
Another question?
Supporting comments. One of the best practice that we have used in many destinations to promote Bahrain as a wedding destination to the target market was the key element. I personally was very rigid on and very aggressive on that particular, which is the key features of venues and places that actually makes that wedding destination, for example, successful. If I want, if because now I can assure you, all of you in the room, I can confidently talk that 70%, 75% of your decision, it could be made at your homestead. You don't need to travel to Bahrain to do your wedding decision, but then the 35 or 25%, of course, you need to see the venue, whether it is like this. This is what I refuse to take hotels. So only those hotels that has venues, I promote the venue, not the hotel. So the hotel is there, right? Somebody else was promoting it, but I was promoting the venue because more important, that's what you're looking for. So this is, I think, the key feature that all destinations and DMOs, if they want to get a successful, accessible tourism, I feel this is what I'm practicing now. I want to promote. I mean, I'm developing myself from that through that pathway. That the key point is that promote the features and then highlight the features throughout all your channels, whether in your presence in international exhibitions or events or other channels that you are going to be using this because this is what where you can help. It's like you're pushing your customer towards making the decision. So once you reach to that point, so then the remaining the decision-making factor, it's easy because that would be remaining because there is no other means, or there is no other means in the market to basically help them make that decision. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Another one, no, from the audience? So to sum it up, the session, I think it was proved that the accessible tourism market, it's not a niche. It's not a niche. And when we make travel possible for everyone, we open for more and new opportunities and connections between people. And also, tourism for all is not only a social responsibility, it must be seen as a competitive advantage that benefits all the people, the tourists and the residents also. And inclusion in tourism, it's more than a policy, it's a mindset. It must be a mindset and the culture and the way of promoting the future and the tourism for a better world. So thank you to all the three panelists and also to the audience. We learn a lot again and again with you for your valuable insights and also the practical examples. And I hope this discussion of this session was useful to bringing new ideas and to inspire making tourism more accessible for everyone. Enjoy the rest of the conference and thank you for your presence here. Thank you.